Trump orders U.S. exit from Paris Climate Agreement and WHO. In one of his first acts of his second term, President Donald Trump has ordered the U.S. withdrawal from the Paris Climate Agreement and the World Health Organization. Follow DW for the latest. Donald Trump sworn in as 47th U.S. President ceremony in Washington, D.C., attended by outgoing President Joe Biden, Argentine President Javier Milei, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, and others. Trump signs executive order withdrawing from Paris Climate Agreement and announces U.S. withdrawal from the WHO. He also issues pardons for defendants involved in the January 6, 2021 attack on the Capitol. The sanctions were imposed by Trump's predecessor Joe Biden in early 2024. Lifting sanctions on extremist settlers encourages them to commit more crimes against our people, the Palestinian Ministry of Foreign Affairs said in a statement. The statement referred to recent attacks by Israeli settlers across the West Bank that left 21 injured. Trump's move, made just hours after he was sworn in for a second term, was hailed by far-right elements in Israel. Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich wrote on X, "I sincerely thank President Donald Trump for his just decision to lift the sanctions imposed by the Biden administration against settlers and activists in right-wing organizations." He described the sanctions as a severe and blatant foreign intervention in Israel's internal affairs. Itamar Ben-Gvir, the former national security minister, who recently resigned over the current ceasefire in Gaza, called Trump's decision historic. Germany's top diplomat stresses solidarity with Ukraine as Trump takes power. Outgoing German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock has invoked European unity during a meeting with her Lithuanian counterpart, saying, among other things, that Europe was steadfast in its support for Ukraine amid fears that the U.S. under Donald Trump could cut its aid to Kyiv. Speaking after talks with Gabrielius Landsbergis, she said that Lithuania and Germany's shared support for Ukraine against the Russian invasion was something that had bound the two countries closely in recent years. "I am speaking for both of us when I say that Europe will continue to stand firmly by Ukraine in the future. I say this also with regard to the new U.S. administration," Baerbock said. "Europe bears responsibility for its own security and will continue to fully support Ukraine, especially through the various facets we bring to the table. Europe's diversity, 27 European nations. This is precisely our shared strength when we act in a unified and coordinated manner," Baerbock added. "That is why our approach to peacekeeping is called Europe United, rather than my country first," she said, in an allusion to Trump's mantra of America First. On Tuesday, Baerbock also criticized Trump's suggestion that he will seek to bring the Panama Canal and Greenland under U.S. control. "Every threat toward a NATO member or other states is, of course, completely unacceptable," she told German broadcaster RBB. She also warned that statements by Trump should be taken with a pinch of salt. "I would like to stress here that we shouldn't take the bait every time," she said. China concerned over U.S. withdrawal from Paris Climate Accord. WHO China says it is concerned by Trump's decision to withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord and the World Health Organization, WHO. Climate change is a common challenge faced by all of humanity, and no country can remain unaffected or solve the problem on its own, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Guo Jiakun said. He said Beijing was tackling climate change by supporting global green initiatives and the Paris Agreement. Guo also stressed that the WHO's role in addressing global health crises should be strengthened, not weakened, and vowed China's continued support for the UN agency to build a shared community of health for humanity. Regarding trade, Beijing called for dialogue to ease tensions following Trump's threats to impose more tariffs on Chinese exports. The previous Trump administration's approach to China has sparked concerns over escalating trade disputes and strained diplomatic ties. China is willing to strengthen dialogue and communication with the United States, properly manage differences, and expand mutually beneficial cooperation, Guo said. It is hoped that the United States will work with China to jointly promote stable, healthy, and sustainable development of China-U.S. economic and trade relations. Trump starts firing Biden appointees. Donald Trump has sacked 4 senior government officials appointed by his predecessor, Joe Biden, and warned that more than 1,000 others were about to be dismissed, amid fears in many quarters that he will purge anybody who has not demonstrated complete loyalty to his agenda. "My presidential personnel office is actively in the process of identifying and removing over 1,000 presidential appointees from the previous administration who are not aligned with our vision to make America great again," Trump said in a post on Truth Social just after midnight. He named 4 people: celebrity chef Jose Andres from the President's Council on Sports, Fitness and Nutrition, Mark Milley, a former top general from the National Infrastructure Advisory Council, Brian Hook from the Wilson Center for Scholars, and Keisha Lance Bottoms from the President's Export Council, as having been immediately dismissed. Trump's post ended with the words, "You're fired," the catchphrase from his days as the boss of the hit TV show, The Apprentice. Which executive orders did Trump sign on day one? Donald Trump has been fast to act on promises he made ahead of his inauguration, signing numerous executive orders as he took office as the 47th President of the United States on Monday. They clearly indicate his priorities and include rescinding 78 regulations established by his predecessor, Joe Biden, in order to all federal departments to tackle the cost of living crisis, in order to stop government censorship, the withdrawal of the U.S. from the Paris Climate Agreement, the withdrawal of the U.S. from the World Health Organization, the declaration of a national emergency at the Mexican border, making it U.S. policy to recognize only two genders, male and female. Trump also signed pardons for almost all 1,600 defendants who stormed the Capitol in an attempt to stop the transfer of power on January 6, 2021, after elections that Trump has falsely claimed were rigged. But as DW correspondent Carla Bleicher notes in an article about Trump's first acts during his second term, not all of the orders will mean immediate change for the country, with many subject to mandatory study and review. Legal battles erupt over Trump's DOGE advisory panel, led by Elon Musk minutes, after Donald Trump signed an executive order to establish the Department of Government Efficiency. Its creation was challenged in court. Despite its name, DOGE, as it is known, is not a department, but rather an advisory panel headed by billionaire Elon Musk. During the election, it was first proposed that DOGE would find drastic cuts to the federal government, but the executive order said the group's aim was to modernize federal technology and software. Government employee unions, watchdog groups, and public interest organizations sued within minutes of the announcement. Among them were National Security, Counselors, the American Public Health Association, the American Federation of Teachers, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, and Public Citizen. They argued DOGE was breaking a law that governed federal advisory committees and was also suing over the DOGE's uncertain status. Trump suspends U.S. foreign development aid programs for review. President Donald Trump has signed an executive order temporarily suspending all U.S. foreign development assistance programs for 90 days. The order mandates that all department and agency heads responsible for these programs immediately pause new obligations and disbursements of development assistance funds. During the 90-day suspension, the programs will be reviewed to determine their alignment with Trump's policy goals. The order, one of many signed on his first day back in office, criticizes the foreign aid industry and bureaucracy are not aligned with American interests and, in many cases, antithetical to American values. The order even went as far as stating that these programs often destabilize world peace by promoting ideas in foreign countries that are directly inverse to harmonious and stable relations internal to and among countries. Trump signs order to withdraw United States from WHO. President Donald Trump has signed an executive order to withdraw the U.S. from the World Health Organization, WHO. The U.S. will leave the United Nations Health Agency in 12 months and will stop all financial support for its work. Trump criticized the WHO for failing to act independently from the inappropriate political influence of WHO member states and for requiring unfairly onerous payments from the U.S. compared to countries like China. World Health ripped us off, everybody rips off the United States. It's not going to happen anymore, Trump said as he signed the order during his first day back in the White House. The U.S. is the WHO's biggest financial backer, contributing around 18% of its funding. Trump started the process of quitting the WHO in his first presidential term, but President Joe Biden was able to stop the process when he took office in January 2021. Trump delays TikTok ban. President Donald Trump signed an order to delay implementing the law banning TikTok in the United States for 75 days. When asked what the TikTok order meant, Trump said, "It just gave me the right to sell it or close it." TikTok's China-based owner ByteDance missed a deadline on Saturday to sell its U.S. subsidiary to non-Chinese buyers or be banned in the country. The video-sharing platform took itself offline for U.S. users for several hours over the weekend before returning when Trump vowed executive action. The U.S. president signaled his frustration with the reasoning behind the possible TikTok ban, saying China made a lot of other things that are sold in the U.S., including phones, but he said it was in China's interest to approve a deal to sell the company. Earlier, TikTok CEO Shou Chew attended Trump's inauguration, sitting behind the president as one of his guests. Trump says Putin is not doing well in Ukraine and should make a deal. U.S. President Donald Trump said his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin is destroying Russia by continuing the war in Ukraine. Trump answered impromptu questions from reporters while signing executive orders at the White House, saying he would speak to Putin soon. He can't be thrilled, Trump said about the way the war is going, adding, "He is not doing well. I think he would be very well off to end that war," Trump said. He also said Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky wants to make a deal to end the war. Previously, Zelensky has said that Kyiv will end the war on its own terms, with no room for compromise. About 1/5 of Ukraine's territory is currently under Russian control. Marco Rubio confirmed as Secretary of State. Senate has swiftly confirmed Marco Rubio as Secretary of State, voting unanimously on Monday to give President Donald Trump the first member of his new cabinet on Inauguration Day. Rubio, a Republican senator from Florida, was confirmed with a 99-0 vote, with with Democrats describing him as a friend. Rubio will immediately face the challenge of executing President Trump's foreign policy. In his inauguration speech on Monday, Trump renewed threats to seize the Panama Canal and afterwards raised the possibility of imposing tariffs on neighboring countries while saying, "We need Greenland for international security." Trump signed executive orders to withdraw from Paris Climate Accord. Donald Trump signed a series of executive orders during his presidential parade at Capital One Arena. It included a withdrawal from the Paris Agreement, a legally binding international treaty on climate change. This decision marks a defiant rejection of global efforts to combat climate change as catastrophic weather events intensify worldwide. According to the agreement's rules, exiting would take about a year after submitting formal notice to the United Nations. Trump also signed the notice to the UN, informing the world body of the U.S. withdrawal. In his earlier remarks, Trump said the U.S., the world's top oil and gas producer, will expand drilling. "Now we are going to drill, baby, drill," he said. Thank you for watching. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel.